Welcome Aries to your in-depth monthly forecast for October 2025. I'm going to share some of the standout news of this month to begin with, then on screen the event chart right at the start of October, which always provides an influential backdrop for the whole month. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundell, a very warm welcome. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, please help it to continue to thrive and do so now. Please also click or tap the bell notification symbol. Your ruler Aries is Mars. Mars in your sign is very much about initiation, courage, action, having the confidence to take that first step forwards. But all through this month, Mars is in a much deeper, more psychological, transformational part of your scope. And that is Scorpio, which it also rules traditionally. That can stir up some deep desires, and that mystery is going to be at the heart of this month's story. But also relationship matters are to the fore. Questions can be asked on the back of the Aries full moon of the 7th. The new moon of the 21st, ordinarily each year, is a chance for you to set your intentions to bring good things your way. And you can do that this year, but there are some planetary caveats that I need to unpack for you. Neptune, the planet of dreams and artistry, creativity, has been in your sign since the end of March, but is going to say au revoir briefly on the 22nd, inversing back into the most psychological part of your scope, joining up with Saturn, which reversed out of your sign on the 1st of September. What does this mean? I'm going to share about this too. As the month goes on, the Sun makes the transition to join up with Mars and also Mercury in that passionate sign of Scorpio, but it is going to go into a mighty, monumental clash with Pluto, the planet of power, but also of transformation. What's the implications of that? But just before I go into that, I want to share with you about my unique offer. You can order your personal natal forecast for year 2026 now, and I'll give you the rest of this year free. But also you'll get 30% off the individual prices, and you'll get your life roadmap report in my special package. That really helps you to understand the patterns that have played out in your life so far. All of us. It's totally unique to each person. But understanding those patterns and matching them to the forecast will help you to make your moves in the new year much more shrewdly. But also in my special offer, you'll get your free general zodiac forecast for each of the 12 signs, but also your Chinese forecast, your Vedic forecast, and your love forecast too in my special booklets. Please see the link below for more. On the screen now, I'm sharing the event chart right at the start of the month. And you can see we have the Sun and also Mercury in Libra. The Sun in Libra is not its strongest place. It's known as being in its fall. So if you want something around a relationship situation this month, it's suggesting this is going to take skill and perseverance. But Mercury being there, the planet of communication, can be a real asset, because Mercury helps us to be a bit more detached and logical, not take things quite so personally. But you'll see the position of Mercury to Jupiter, the planet of fortune, right at the start of this month is a square. But this is one of those squares which can be a challenging influence and stressful influence in astrology, which does have some opportunities, particularly if you're trying to relate to a family member about something that's important to you, or an emotional component in an existing relationship. But I think that square, great if you have a home-based business that you want to connect to more people. Your enthusiasm can be infectious all through this month. Not so good if your expectations are very high. So important to be very realistic. You'll also see that the position of the moon is right at the top of the chart. That means your emotions are going to be close to the surface this month. Even if you see yourself as being quite a private person, I feel there will be times when you just sense other people know what you're thinking. That's not necessarily the case, but it may just feel like that. But just notice the moon is opposite Jupiter. If you are wanting to do something around your home, improve it, perhaps move, downsize, upsize, expand, perhaps redecorate, the opposition with Jupiter can give you a sense of what's possible. But I think it is also important to know that all through this month, the reactions and interactions you have with others is really going to be at the root of the story. I'm now going to go through each of the key influences in detail to give you a clear timeline and picture of what to expect this month. If you've yet to watch your year 2026 Aries deep dive forecast, please see the link within this video. If you click on it, it will take you directly to there. So as you come into this month, we have that buoyant energy between Mercury and Jupiter, but asking you to be realistic. You do have the moon in a very practical, cautious part of your scope, but that's making you think very much about your connection to the world at large. But as I mentioned in my introduction, Neptune is going to invert out of your sign, but you can see that Saturn, right at the start of the month, is in that 12th house. And between now and the middle of February next year, it may be that you're going to have to clear up some loose ends that are still outstanding. And it may be about a relationship matter that this shows itself, particularly as Saturn and Mercury, as Mercury moves forwards, come into a stressful quincunx, which is quite a complex influence from the 3rd to the 6th. You may find that if you're trying to get to know someone new, for example, that maybe some old events that occurred to you could be an inhibitor and stopping you quite flowing in the moment. But on the 6th, Mercury, the planet of communication, dives deep into the sign of Scorpio. If you are someone who wants to make the most of your resources, as Mercury starts to align with Mars, which builds up from the 11th through to the 23rd, but is very, very tight on the 20th, that's an opportunity for you to be very determined, especially if you're negotiating a financial situation, trying to squeeze more from your assets. But if there is someone you're finding mesmerizing from a relationship viewpoint, Mercury moving to join up with Mars later this month will certainly give you a kind of impulse, an impulse that may bring out that part of your nature that likes to just go for it, and that can give you a sense of really feeling alive. But in existing relationships, there is a very powerful full moon in your sign on the 7th, which suggests that if things are out of kilter, for example, if you feel that you do more than other people, particularly at home, people are taking you for granted, that Aries full moon is asking you to set your boundaries. And I think Mercury and Mars, as they align by the 20th, can make you much punchier about putting across your message. Now on the 13th, Venus, the relator, moves home into the sign of Libra. Do you know, if you are wanting to get to know someone new, that's a magical transition that goes on through to November the 6th, but particularly because of Mars and Mercury being in the 8th house, because Venus in the 7th house can be very diplomatic, charming, flirty, likes harmony, but maybe doesn't quite go for it. But with that combination, if there is someone who comes up on your celestial orbit this month, I think it's a combination of lust, but also using your words with skill, which could be very hard to resist. On the 14th, however, Pluto, the planet of transformation, which is linking fabulously well to Venus and also Uranus at the heart of this month, which could set up a completely unexpected, almost karmic encounter. Pluto does go direct. It has been retracing its steps since early May. If you have been a little bit unsure about your long-term future, I think from here on in, things could be clarified, but I still think with Neptune returning to your sign on the 22nd to join up with Saturn, there may still be some things that you need to just tidy up that have been ongoing for some time, perhaps of a more psychological nature, that will then help you to focus on that future plan in a much more compelling way. The 21st I mentioned is a new moon. Each year, that's usually your glorious opportunity to springboard relationship hopes. But this one is so late in the sign of Libra that it's actually squaring up with Pluto in the sign of Aquarius. If you're in a relationship where you feel that there isn't the real potential to grow together, this new moon is pushing you over the next month to make a decisive decision. The 22nd, with Neptune returning to your sign, just know it takes 165 years to go through its entire cycle. So around about 150 years ago was the last time that it approached your sign. It will come back to Aries on the 26th of January, and that will be a completely new epoch for you. The 23rd, however, the Sun bursts into Scorpio, joining up with Mercury and Mars. It's a really exciting transition. The Sun here is about understanding what's not necessarily obvious. It can bring up the opportunity to think about business, entrepreneurship, shared finances or investment, things like legacies. That's all the practical stuff. But it can also, particularly with Mercury and with Mars in that very tight conjunction on the 20th, if there is someone you're finding very, very alluring, it could get red hot. But if there is a relationship that someone's not tuning into how you're feeling, particularly on the back of that new moon, I feel you can be much more forthright in telling them why you're not happy. As the month comes to a close, Mercury, however, moves into your fellow fire sign of Sagittarius. The intensity of this month could come to a close with you needing some kind of break, distraction, or some kind of freedom, independence, completely understandable. If you do find yourself wanting to head off somewhere on the spur of the moment as October comes to a close, it wouldn't be a complete surprise. But there is a big picture aspect developing too in the last week. If you're an Aries person who's comfortable with the psychological domain, the combination between Saturn, Jupiter and Mars as this month closes can be fantastic for helping you to dive deep and understand the emotional component of any situation that may have proved challenging for quite some time. See it as an opportunity to release yourself with the knowledge and insights that you're gaining. But in a very profound way, Aries, I think this is a month which is asking you this question. Are the relationships you're enjoying at the moment giving you an equal return to the investment you're putting in? If the answer is no, and it's quite a big no, and there's not really the latitude to work on it, I feel by the end of this month you will be taking very decisive action, be it at work, be it in a business partnership, be it around a friendship, family affair, or perhaps even a close romantic relationship.